Hello Internet, my name is the Golden Stalfos, and today we're going to talk about the Steam Deck. So to sum up, for anyone who doesn't know or who is far enough in the future that this product has faded into obscurity, as it definitely will, Valve has decided that they're going to release a handheld PC gaming device called the Steam Deck. The first huge problem with this device is that it hasn't learned any lessons from the failure that was the Steam controller. For anyone who doesn't remember the Steam controller, it was basically just like literally every other controller made for PC, except that it also had these really god-awful trackpad slash D-pad combo things built into the middle of it. So it was basically akin to the experience of using over-designed Xbox controller and an over-designed bad laptop trackpad at the same time. And yeah, there's a reason most people don't like it. There are some people who like it and who get really, really excited about it, but ooh, it is a non-standard design, to say the least. The Steam Deck, of course, did not learn about this lesson and decided to, one, make their handheld console far too big to fit into anyone's hands, and two, in addition to all of the normal controller buttons, plus grip buttons, which no games really support, but whatever, they decided to add trackpads underneath your D-pads, just so that the spacing on the controller can be even more awkward and unwieldy. Now, on a surface level, I understand why they did this. Valve and Steam are PC platforms, and obviously they want to be able to support PC games that don't have controller support. However, there are two problems with this train of thought. The first is that you can approximate mouse movement with an analog joystick. No, it won't be as accurate as a mouse movement, but you can do it. It's not hard. And second is that mouse controls are not the main thing holding PC games back from being put on controllers. The main thing holding PC games back from being controlled with controllers is that the companies who make them don't even understand how controllers work and just have no controller support, or their button maps make no goddamn sense and won't let you change them even though you can remap the keyboard, because fuck it. We're just a company with billions of dollars who already released this game on console. Why would we give it usable console controls on PC? Seriously, if you buy like any of the Assassin's Creed games on PC, you just can't use the same button mapping you would use on, say, PlayStation. It just isn't an option. I have no idea why. They hate you, I guess. It's better than fucking Bethesda, TBH. Like, I literally have to mod Bethesda games to make the controllers work. How do you fail that badly? Like, Oblivion came out on Xbox first, then PC, but you can't control it with an Xbox controller the way you do on Xbox. Because reasons? And beyond that, the other thing holding PC games back from being compatible with controllers is the fact that they have too goddamn many buttons. Like, the reason you can't play World of Warcraft with a controller isn't because emulating a mouse with a joystick would be annoying. It's because there's no way you could fit all 4,000 of your hotkeys onto the fucking controller that only has 16 buttons. Actually, most controllers don't have 16 buttons. Most controllers have 4 face buttons, 4 shoulder buttons, a D-pad which can function as a set of buttons, and a couple extras for menu stuff, which for the vast majority of the games is enough buttons, especially if you keep that map in mind when you're building your game. You can map an action to 2 buttons that being pressed together, or make certain actions context sensitive, or all kinds of things to extend the amount of buttons you functionally have. But PC games don't do that because PC games don't consider the fact that someone might want to play with anything other than a keyboard. And for my part, the main reason I play with controllers instead of keyboards is because analog joysticks are better for moving around in a 3D environment than WASD, because WASD is just a fucking D-pad, and console games moved away from using D-pads for movement in the N64 era. Like, Jesus Christ. It should not be this bizarre concept that moving around with a joystick is better than moving around with a D-pad. All of this is to say that putting bulky, out of the way touchpads on the side of your Steam Deck isn't going to increase compatibility with PC games any more than just emulating the mouse with one of your joysticks would. And also, let me tell you this little secret, like this super secret technology that hasn't been seen anywhere in the world. It's called a touch screen. I know it's this weird, crazy concept that definitely hasn't been standard since like 2006. But basically, what happens is you touch the screen, and that acts as a mouse click. And you can even drag your fingers along the screen to like move the mouse, and you can like zoom with two fingers, and it's crazy, really. You know, this definitely isn't a technology that is literally in the pockets of literally every single person who worked on the Steam Deck right now. This isn't a technology that was on handheld gaming consoles in 2008 when Nintendo released the DS. Like, why do you need these huge, bulky, annoying trackpads when you could just have a touchscreen? It's ridiculous. So that's the first major problem with the Steam Deck. It has unnecessary features that increase its bulk and add complexity to the manufacturing process, which, adding complexity also adds expense. And the second major problem is that it's too goddamn expensive. Now, yes, this is being made with off-the-shelf parts, and it is, well, at least the cheapest version is cheaper than any of the other systems of its like that are made with off-the-shelf parts. However, there's two huge problems with this. One, Valve shouldn't have to use off-the-shelf parts. They should be able to get custom-made parts from PC manufacturers because they're fucking Valve. What the hell else are they going to do with the 30% of every game ever sold on PC that they've made? Like, seriously, when you consider how much money Steam makes, it's absolutely astonishing that Valve literally hasn't done anything interesting in years. Like they just keep making kind of underwhelming hardware, like the Steam VR thing that no one really used. And I guess they made Half-Life Alyx a little while ago if you're into VR, but like, that's it? Like, that's literally all they've done since Portal 2 came out. And the bigger problem with the price isn't just like, this is a big company, they should be able to get custom shit that would cost less and work better. But also, it's a problem because of the performance. This handheld console is going to be locked to 720/30, which, well, actually it's not true 720 because they've got a weird aspect ratio, which is worse because a lot of games don't support weird aspect ratios, but whatever. It's 16 by 10, which I guess some people prefer, but like, it's a non-standard aspect ratio. It's going to cause problems with some games. You're going to get letterboxing and shit. But also, PC gamers aren't used to playing like that, Like, I have a 1060 in my rig, and I run every game at full 1080, 60 FPS, all the details, I mean, like, not ray tracing, which I want to be able to do, but those cards don't exist. But my broader point is that card's old, right? Like, that card's been out for years. It was old when I got it. It was also overpriced when I got it because that was during the first Bitcoin thing. And now we're past the second Bitcoin thing, and there's still a fucking shortage. So to tell modern PC gamers, hey, here's this, basically a shitty small form factor laptop that, like, doesn't have a keyboard and can't do most of the things a laptop does, and it costs $400, and it's basically just here to play games, but we can kind of pretend it does other stuff even though it really doesn't. Oh, and also your gaming experience is going to be worse than what you get from a platform built out of fucking 10-year-old parts. Like Yahoo. Actually, I don't think the 1060 is quite 10 years old, but it's pretty old. And the simple fact is that the only people who are going to buy a Steam Deck are people who already have a significant Steam library, right? Like, no one is going to get a Steam Deck on the assumption that they can play other games. And there aren't any compelling titles for it. Like, you might say, oh, it plays every PC game ever made, basically. But one, no, it doesn't, because there are still compatibility issues, and you're not going to be able to play, like, older games unless you run DOSBox or something. And there's not an equivalent of DOSBox for, like, Windows NT or Windows 95 or anything like that, so, like... But putting aside the fact that PC gaming, isn't as eternal as you think, the bigger problem is, like I mentioned before, since the Steam Deck doesn't have a keyboard, it really isn't compatible with any games that, one, don't have good controller support built in, or two, don't have any way to map all of their functions to a controller because they have too many functions, as PC games sometimes do. And beyond that, just saying, well, anything that runs on Steam runs on here with a few notable exceptions isn't really a selling point. Like, sure, you have a library, but you don't have anything that compels me to buy this specific thing instead of just getting a laptop. Like, sure, a laptop might cost more, although it won't cost more than the high cost version of this console because it comes in a few different price ranges based on the amount of memory you have and some other things like that. And so they have one that they're probably selling at a loss that has the lowest amount of memory that's still $100 more expensive than a Nintendo Switch. But the models they aren't selling at a loss are selling at basically laptop prices. I mean, not like incredibly good laptops, but you can get a laptop that was really good 4 years ago and it'll still have better hardware than the Steam Deck. So, well, that's not strictly speaking true. Technically, this Steam Deck has really good hardware, but it's power limited and cycle limited in a way that makes it behave like not very good hardware. But of course, in addition to having greater compatibility with PC games because it is actually a PC, a laptop would also have the ability to do things that are not PC games, like, editing and browsing the internet in a way that doesn't feel stupid and, all those things that console systems just don't do, let alone handheld consoles, which are really bad most of the time. Don't get me wrong, there is an enthusiast market for these small handheld PC things, and a lot of it has to do with the way that you can get away with emulation on these things. And as far as that goes, the Steam Deck might be really cool because it's a little bit cheaper than, well, on the low end anyway, it's a little bit cheaper than some of the competitive options, and it probably has better hardware than some of those competitive options. So, like, if you're emulating old Game Boy games or whatever, it'll be a really fucking great experience. You won't be able to emulate DS games because it doesn't have two screens and, but whatever. If all you want to do is play old games that definitely do have controller support, then yeah, you can get some mileage out of this. And yeah, the cheap version is cheaper than a lot of its competitors, so you'll get a lot of mileage out of it. But as far as like a genuine way to play PC games and experience them on the go, I just don't think it is. It just isn't. And for that reason, I expect that people who are already really hardcore into this very niche area will love it. And people who aren't won't even realize it exists. And if they ever do play it, they'll be very underwhelmed. I know for a fact that I won't be buying one because it just isn't worth it. For the amount of money it would cost to get a usable version of this handheld, I could just get a scalped graphics card and upgrade my PC, you know? Not that I would do that. Don't buy from scalpers. Break the cycle. But yeah, overall, I just don't think the Steam Deck is a good idea. I don't think it will be particularly successful, and there are a lot of issues with its design that could have been pretty easily avoided if Valve gave a shit. Which clearly they don't. So yeah. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next life. Laters. Alright, thank you guys for watching that video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that dumb YouTube stuff. Follow me on all my other social media stuff. I got Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and I have a Patreon, if and only if you have money to burn. And if you do have money to burn, maybe consider donating to an actual charity instead. There are always a few linked in my description, just in case. I mean, I do appreciate it, but there's probably people who can use it more than me. Me and my girlfriend play video games she's never played before on twitch.tv/thegolden every Saturday, sometime after 6 p.m. US Mountain Time. And also I sometimes use that channel to do challenge runs and game creation tutorials. So if you're into any of that, please check that out. Also, if you check out our streams and you like the performance that my girlfriend puts on, she streams by herself on her own channel called Awesome Possum Pie. And be sure to leave positive comments down below for my girlfriend who volunteered to edit my videos for free because she's awesome. And yeah, thanks so much for all of your support. And thanks again for watching.